Welcome to your doom.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Welcome to Your Doom show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are your harbingers of doom. Atul.
I am Justin.
What's up, man?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You didn't think I was going to ask that question?
No, you
took
caught
you by surprise.
caught me completely by surprise. No, man. No, nothing much. Just getting used to the new job, which is interesting. I don't think we haven't had a podcast since I started my new job, right?
Yeah, that's right. This would be the first one.
Yeah, I was working on it when I was in LA, actually. The Captain Marvel episode. Yeah, I released it. Man, so the offices I was at.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I told you or not, but like we've got like some crazy Wi-Fi over there, basically.
Oh, okay.
Usually it takes, the files that go up to YouTube are usually about 4 or 5 gigs after I'm done with it.
Yeah.
They upload when I'm at home about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
2 gigs? 4
It was
gigs?
5. It was like 4 or 5 gigs in like 30 seconds.
an
I
insane
was
upload.
watching the YouTube upload progress. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Really?
You also were you doing a little like VR stuff, right?
Yeah, we're doing some VR
You
stuff.
showed me a video from the studio. They were doing mocap in the studio. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
That's
doing
cool.
some cool stuff over there.
That's some cool work.
It's like, it's really, really cool. And there's a few people at the job that I worked with at DreamWorks, so it was kind of cool. So the first day I get in there, I'm sitting there with like somebody else that's also starting off. Like it's their first day as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there and we're talking. How did you get in? Oh, I know some people and this and that. That's nice. And then all of a sudden, a guy that I worked with at DreamWorks walks in. He's actually the guy that runs the mocap stage. And I see him and I'm like, dude. He's like, what? He didn't know I was actually starting and working there.
That's
so I
really
see him
funny.
and then I'm like hugging him and stuff. And we're just talking and shooting the shit for a bit. And then he goes into work. And then I sit down. Then all of a sudden, it's kind of like there's like an overpass where people work.
Yeah.
Like that looks down on the lobby.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, my buddy, another one of my buddies comes, hey! And then I look up, I'm like, hey, buddy! And then we start talking. Another one of my friends and one of my new bosses comes over, and another person. And all of this happens within the span of like 2 or 3 minutes. And then the girl looks over at me that was also starting. She's like, how do you know everybody?
It was like that time in New York. Remember?
Oh my
We were at
God.
Bryant Park.
Yeah. Oh, that was so good.
The bartender came over and he's like, "Have you guys put your tab down yet?" I turned around and looked at him. He's like, "Oh, it's you. Don't worry about it." He goes back,
And then everybody else is there like,
"Who the hell are
who's
you?"
he? This guy must be a big deal. This is
funny.
Bryant. He owns the park.
I am Mr. Park.
Mr. Park.
So anyway, cut the chatter, cut the laughing, because we're here to talk about Jordan Peele's Us.
Yes. So a little bit of backstory on this, which is why you're getting the episode late this week. We went to go see it on Sunday and had every intention of going to do the episode after that. However, we got out of the film and we were both, I'll say that I was at least, mentally exhausted from the experience. And there was so much to unpack about the film because it was very dense and different and interesting.
Yes.
And crazy. There was all kinds of different feels and we just didn't have it in us. I certainly didn't have it in me to do an episode right
I
away.
remember walking out thinking I was going to ask you whether or not, because I needed to think about it more. But you said, you're like, I think we need to like delay recording this podcast, because I did feel like while the podcast would have been a little rawer coming out of the movie, it would have been a lot more meandering and sort of all over the place.
We'll save that
This
shit
time-
for drinking with skeletons.
Yeah, and this is, not to say that this will not be meandering and boring, but it'll be less meandering and boring. Meandering
Ideally.
with a purpose. Yeah, with a purpose.
Ideally.
And you said there's a lot to unpack. My shit's still packed. I've tried to like unpack this thing and unravel it, and there's just like an onion. So I haven't gotten to the center of it, and I've got a couple of points there, but let's see how this goes. And we'll see how it goes. Do we want to jump right in?
Got a line?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Us, not that weepy drama on television, which I heard was pretty good. But this is Jordan Peele's Us, the horror film. Sit down, Captain Marvel. This is how you use 90s music in a modern movie.
I got 5 on it.
Yes, sir.
Is that actually about drugs?
It is. It is. It is about drugs. I basically, that was one of the biggest songs when I was growing up. I used to listen to that song all the time.
Yeah.
Lunas, I got 5 on it. I don't think they did any other. I feel like they were a one-hit wonder mostly, but I got 5 on it. It's like getting half of a dime bag. It's like, if you're like you're dropping $10, but your buddy's broke as shit, so he's just like, yo, I got 5s. Like,
Yeah.
So that's what that is. The song is hypnotic. I thought it was so hypnotic, and I got to tell you, man, when I saw the trailer for this movie, the first trailer for the movie, because I avoided all of the other ones.
Yes, same.
Saw the first trailer for the movie, and they use a heavily remixed and rejiggered version of the song in the trailer, and I freaked out. First of all, in the trailer, they actually use the song as they're playing it in the car, and then they use this other version that they constructed specifically for the movie, using sort of the melody of the song. And dude, I freaked out when I heard that. And this is the attention to detail that we're talking about. I've come to the conclusion that I like the movie. Mm-hmm. It took me a little while to figure that out, but I liked it. And I like it because Jordan Peele's attention to detail, it's so minuscule. It's everything in the frame. Right down to, if you're going to use this song, he went out of his way to requisition a rejiggered version of the song to suit his movie.
However, nobody was buying half of a bag of drugs, which was unfortunate. But
I'm sure there were a lot of dime bags on set.
That's racist.
But yeah, so I liked it. There was a tremendous attention to detail.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele's growing in his craft, but one thing I would say is that I feel like if you're a DJ, right? If you're a DJ and you play a few parties, you have got to earn the respect of your audience before you can start playing the shit that's really weird, esoteric, things that people haven't heard of before, introduce people to new music. You can't just jump right into that stuff. You got to earn that credibility by playing a Bieber,
right?
Or like a Chris Brown, or you really got to get people to believe in you as a DJ,
right.
To be like, I'm gonna drop some new shit, to the point where you drop new stuff,
right? People
are like, this is the new hot shit, as opposed to this is just some guy, I've never heard this. Who the fuck is this guy, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Peele released Get Out, and he got that respect, I think. Because I think Get Out is actually a much more tangible story. A story that you understand exactly what's happening in the story. There's no... It's got a lot of subtext to it, absolutely, but the plot is never something you're really questioning.
Right.
But in this movie, even right from the credit sequence, a steady cam shot of rabbits, right? He is
the creepiest fucking song in the world.
Yeah, exactly. This chanting music, he's basically ratcheting up his artistic license.
Yeah.
He's basically like, I made a movie, I got everyone's attention. Now I'm gonna show you some shit. It's gonna be weird as fuck. It's gonna be weird, but I'm good at this, so I'm gonna do this. And I think that might turn some people off, because it's kind of like, he's jumping into that, and it's his second movie. You know, I feel like there's a lot of stuff in that movie where it's these long shots and these monologues and stuff like that. And a lot of people, he jumped right into it. He's like, this is my vision, I'm doing it. And it's all of that attention to detail. But I decided I liked it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a really long-winded way of saying I liked the movie.
I liked it a lot.
Oh, really?
It's weird. Okay, so here's the thing: I liked it a lot, but it's marred by at least a few things that I fucking hated.
Okay.
So I don't know where. That's why I was saying, I mentioned to you earlier that I don't know where I fall on that scale, because there's a couple of things that were just egregiously wrong to me about putting in the film. However, the score, the look of the films, the coloring, the performances, the imagination.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff.
Yes.
This film was basically a thriller horror.
Yeah.
It has one of the best action scenes I've seen in recent memory.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, but it is such an interesting film. However, like I said, and I can't discuss it without going into spoilers yet, but it's marred by at least a few things that I just did not like about it. Some things felt too convenient. Some things felt that they were in the wrong place or were completely unnecessary.
Sure.
However,
I think I agree with you on that.
However, this film has some of the best performances I've seen to date. Yeah. And the actor, I didn't write down all the actors' names, but all of the actors, I mean, the families, the actors deserve kudos because they brought each of them brought two characters to life.
That's right, yeah.
And two very distinct versions of the characters. Yeah. And one was, wholesome and fun and somebody you'd probably want to get along with and hang out with. Yeah. And the others were the thing of fucking nightmares.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about the film. And the bad things I can't say to you without spoiling it. So
the composition here, like Jordan Peele stepped up his visual game. Yes. There is a visual style to this movie that's like he really ratcheted it up, and that's what I mean. Like I think he's cashing in a lot of that goodwill from not that it's undeserved. He's absolutely I love his output. Right, he's jumping into the Twilight Zone now, and he's hosting like the new revamped Times. He's got his production company now. Like Get Out was really good, and he's cashing in a lot of that. And he's like, I'm not just another horror director. I'm like an auteur. Like, I am putting together.
I hate that word.
Yeah, but you see what I mean. I feel like a lot of people do. A lot of people like because it sounds almost like you're full of yourself. And to sort of put a fine point on, like, I
put
think
5 on it.
If I'm gonna put 5 on
put
it,
10 on it.
I'm
Go.
Put 10.
Go.
I'm like, I'm broke as fuck. I can't buy the whole thing back. But like, I think that he's cashing that in because there are like Hitchcockian levels of camera work and like a Brian De Palma shot. There's a shot that like Brian De Palma like patented, which is like the focus, the in focus, the foreground and the background being in focus at the same time. This is what I'm talking about. Like this movie was his stepping stone visually. Like he ratcheted up, big ideas, big visuals. And initially, it kind of caught me off guard, where I was like, "What? There's like a lot of this in the movie," and I could see that turning people off.
Yes.
But at the same time, I liked most of it. Right. I liked a lot of it, but I do have some reservations about the plot mechanics. I think a lot of it is what we're talking about and what the movie's about, and
ill-placed humor is a big thing for me too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. Like there's some zigs and zags in the story that. It's a little clunky, and I do think that the middle sags a little bit. There's a part, this doesn't ruin anything. There's a home invasion, obviously, like from the trailer, and there's a part of the home invasion. I think it lasts a little too long. I was a little bored in that moment, but then it picked up a little bit later. But I think so. There was a pacing thing where I think maybe the movie thinks it's a little more interesting than it actually is at that particular moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, visually, the score, I can't say enough about the score. It's so good. The remix of I Got 5 on it is part of the score, and it's used in a crucial moment of the movie, and it just had me like in goosebumps. I was just loved it. I loved it. It was so good.
Right.
Memorable in a way that the music selection in Captain Marvel was not. That being said, I think that this song I have a personal connection with this particular song, so that's probably why. Although like some of the music in Captain Marvel, like I knew and I grew up with too.
It was more poppy and stuff. I think that the generation of people that are going to see this film will have some form of connection to I Got 5 on it, because it was a very popular song for our age group.
That's true.
Plus or minus 5 years as well.
Yeah.
So primarily that's going to be a good chunk of the audience going to see us.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it'll play well with a lot of people. And frankly, I mean the movie reviews for it have been exceptional, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's sitting at.
Some of them are 4 stars, but most of them put 5 on it.
Well done.
You.
Well done.
You.
That was good. 95%. It was 90. And that's my 5 on it joke.
Oh, fuck.
No, man, that was great. All right, so do you want to start talking spoilers or?
Yeah. Let's jump right in. So why don't you take us through the?
So the movie opens up on Santa Cruz Beach, a young Adelaide is there with her parents who are not doing a fantastic job at parenting, and they lose track of her. She goes wandering off into a spooky ass hall of mirrors.
Yeah, I don't know what possesses someone to walk into one of those places at night with nobody else there.
There's no carnival barkers at the front trying to, rustle up business and get you to go in or anything like that. And she goes in and meets her doppelganger, who later on in the film is known as Red.
Yeah, that's right. And the I think the scene cuts from there to a series of scenes where she's traumatized by running into this doppelganger, like another version of herself.
Right.
And they're asking her to, express
about
herself.
she's not talking.
Yeah, express herself because she's nearly like she's just not speaking.
Right.
So that's kind of like the first scene,
the
whole scene, and then she basically flash forwarded to her husband and family that she's had since then. I do want to talk about this first scene because we've talked a lot about. I think Jordan Peele has done a great job of like circumventing a lot of the horror tropes, but this is one of the biggest horror tropes. Though walking into a spooky ass place with nobody there, and I'm just like, when I was watching it, I'm like, we got all the other tropes, but this one, like, sometimes you need them.
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes they're tropes for a reason, right? So not that it affected my enjoyment of the movie. It was more I've just kind of smirked to myself. I'm like, well, you didn't subvert them all, sir. I didn't actually say it like that. I just said it like that.
You might as well have. This is a very silly point.
Yeah, it was a pretty silly point. Yahya Abdul Mateen II, Black Manta, is playing her dad, which was completely out of nowhere. I had no idea he was in the movie.
I forgot how dude's jacked.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
His back is like the size of the screen.
Yeah.
He's
tall too.
He's tall.
Yeah.
You saw the framing of the picture actually change to the IMAX framing when they were showing his back. I was like, Jesus. When did we change aspect ratio?
Yeah, to shoot on 75 millimeter for his scenes.
Yeah, it was worth it.
So I noticed two names. I noticed him, and I also noticed the actress who plays Starfire on Titans is in the movie, and I think she is her mom.
Oh.
I think. I didn't get... She never gets a close-up.
No,
her
yeah,
mom
she
never
doesn't.
gets a close-up, and that's the only person who I think it could be. I've only seen a few episodes of Titans, but yeah, so it was just two things that happened at that time. Another thing I want to mention, Jordan Peele, clearly a man who loves horror. I knew this when I used to watch Key and Peele with my wife way back in the day when they were first releasing the videos. All of the comedy skits that are horror based. Even their movie Keanu, I don't know if you ever saw that.
No,
it's not Key and Peele. I don't think the characters. I can't remember, but it's like very similar to that.
Yeah.
But that has a lot of horrific moments in the movie, and it's clear that I was like, one of these guys likes horror. Like I never knew who it was, and then Get Out obviously came out. I'm like, okay, it's clear because there's so many references in this movie to older films. At the beginning, you see. The Lupita Nyong'o, I'm probably mispronouncing her name, but Lupita's character, when she's younger, before she meets her doppelganger, she's watching this television in the 80s, and they're talking about the Hands Across America movement. But on the shelf, if you look on the left and right side, there's like tons of like horror references, and the Thriller T-shirt.
They were really shoving down the fact that it was 1989. At that point.
So they had the Thriller T-shirt. And then when we flash forward to the new family, Lupita is all grown up, and her son is wearing a Jaws T-shirt, and he's wearing the Lon Chaney Jr. inspired Wolfman mask.
Yeah.
Which I was just like, I basically can't dislike this movie right now. Like I'm contractually obligated to like this movie. This kid is wearing a Jaws Thriller, Jaws, and the 1940s Wolfman. I'm like. And oddly enough, Thriller started my fear and fascination with werewolves. And obviously he's wearing a Wolfman mask. And this whole idea of duality and the shadow stuff, I think these actually play in thematically with the rest of the movie. I might be reaching here a little bit, but that's kind of one of my takeaways was that I think all of that was on purpose. And that's really what I'm talking about, this meticulous attention to detail. We'll probably get into that later. But I just wanted to mention that there's a ton of, in this first scene, she wins a T-shirt at the carnival. And the T-shirt she puts on is a Thriller T-shirt, in which Michael Jackson turns into a werewolf and turns into a zombie. both dark halves of like, you know, they're always the Jungian shadow and all those archetypes and all that nonsense.
You're very deep. I don't know how you made that connection.
That's what I thought when I watched, but I'm also very fixated on like werewolf lore. And those are like that's my favorite monster,
That's
right?
fair.
So whenever something shows up like that, it catches my attention. So Jaws I love, but I can't. The Jaws is not really related, other than, you know, the beach scene. But
Yeah. You can really get away from Jaws by just staying out of the water.
that's true.
Sticking
That's
to
true.
pools.
That's right. That's true. Anyway, so anything you wanted to say about that beginning scene? It was really creepy, really well done, well constructed, I thought.
No, I don't really have much to say. You literally said all of it.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking
had
a lot
nothing-
there. I have this one huge paragraph of notes. So trust me, I'm not going to talk this much later. So.
Fair. No, there wasn't much in that opening scene for me to really grasp on. It was establishing the characters. It established the kid, but it was very early on that I kind of had an inkling of what the twist was going to be in the film.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
When they said, "I want my daughter back," I understood they were saying that they wanted her to not be traumatized,
Yes.
but I immediately thought, well, wait, they didn't show anything about what happened after.
That's true.
Maybe they did a whole switcheroo and this is the daughter. No, sorry. I take that back. It wasn't until a little later in the film that I had that realization.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure.
It wasn't
I
right
also
away.
feel really stupid
Why?
because I didn't see that coming.
Really?
Yeah, I just feel really dumb. I feel really dumb. Anyway, we'll get into that when we get there. But
Yeah, no, there was nothing. It was a good setting up of the characters, and then when it transitioned to the family.
Yeah.
I don't know how I immediately knew that she was the girl, but the way that he cut it, or the way that it was, you know, faded
Sure.
from, it was perfect because
Yeah.
it gave me all the information I needed to know about the family.
yeah.
So anyways, then you cut to the family and they're going on their family vacation, going up to their cottage or a cottage up near Santa Cruz Beach.
Yep.
They're meeting up with their douchebag friends at some point, and they have this plan to go to Santa Cruz. Now you can see that Adelaide does not want to go to Santa Cruz because
Yes.
she has these traumatic memories.
Yes.
She doesn't. It seems like she's never talked to Gabe about it because they have this conversation after the beach, and she starts seeing all these coincidences, the 11/11, and then the back of the head that the kid drew. I got chills just thinking about that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where everything's leading off. So at this point, you've got all of these different characters that have been established, and they get to the beach, and that guy gets murdered, and you're immediately connecting to the old guy.
You mean they come across
the
guy
dead body?
they come across
being
the
loaded
body
into the ambulance.
Yeah.
Now, the kid wanders off and sees the doppelganger of this stabby stab guy, or the guy that
But
got
you don't
stabbed.
know that. He's not facing him.
Oh,
right?
you know it's him though.
Oh, I didn't know who it was. Again, I feel really stupid. I feel like this movie was like too smart for me. That's almost what I feel like. This movie was just like running circles around my intellect.
So this is one of the parts where I'm starting to question the intelligence of some of these characters, because this kid, Jason, clearly knew that this dude was just standing there all creepy like
scarecrow.
with blood dripping down his hands, and he thought,
That's normal.
I'm going to go draw that. And then he leaves.
Yeah.
Why didn't he tell somebody? Why
Yeah.
didn't he bring it up with somebody? Be like,
Yeah.
this guy may or may not have killed somebody, or this guy is hurt and he's bleeding everywhere. Mommy, look.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why that was. I don't know. That was a really weird way to establish that point.
That's true. Like it also occurred to me that was odd. It was an odd choice.
Yeah.
But you know,
But visuals, it was a good
it
visual.
was a good visual, and it was creepy, and you know, you can only do so much in that runtime. I do think that, you know, some kind of there's a man over there, but then there's that cliched shot of like someone's over there and they're bleeding, and they look over there and there's no one there. It's like they could do that. And be like every other movie ever made,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or just be like, fuck it. Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Like, let's get on to the new stuff. You know?
Or just don't regard the fact that his hands are dripping in blood.
Blood.
Because I was cool with it until I saw the picture of it, and I was like,
Oh, he like drew the blood.
he drew the blood, and I'm like, if you knew he was bleeding, then
This kid's ruthless.
yeah, he's a strange.
I do not want to be
dude.
stuck with this kid on an island. He
Jason.
will stab me and start eating me.
Also, I would like to comment as a magician on the fact that whatever the hell that he was playing with was not magic. I don't understand what he
I
was
don't
talking
understand that. Yeah, he has this
Oh,
little...
no, you know what? I
it's a
think I
spark.
understand what it is. There's an implement we have called flash paper.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
this stuff just, when it lights, it goes up poof,
Yeah,
into
like
a big ball of flame.
poof.
I think that is probably just something that a magician would hold out, and that would be what they light flash paper with. So that way it makes it like it's coming from your fingertips.
Sure, yeah.
So I take back what I said.
Yeah.
It was just a very poorly maintained implement, and it didn't really spark very often.
Sparked when it needed to.
It did.
It did. So this scene is interesting. There's a scene where frisbee is thrown, and it lands on her Lupita's character. What's her name? Adelaide. Adelaide's beach towel, and the circle, like the actual frisbee, lands in it on the circle pattern of the towel, but it lands right on top of a circle, perfectly aligning with the circle pattern on the towel. And they linger on this shot for very, very long. And this is another thing where I'm like, Jordan Peele is really like, he's like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to linger on this. I'm going to linger on shots. I'm going to take artistic chances. He's doing all of this on purpose.
I'd forgotten about that shot, but it stood out when it had happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Why did he just do that?
Holding on the shot. Yeah. She lifts it up. And what I think it is, she mentions in the next scene where they come back from the beach that a series, she feels like coincidences are occurring more and more, and I think that's what it was. I think that that was another coincidence. Like, wow, what are the chances of that happening?
Right.
When she's explaining her sordid past with her husband for the first time.
Right.
So, but it's just another example of this really like meticulous detail, this sort of artistic endeavor that Jordan Peele's making this movie into.
Right. And I also want to mention that Tim Heidecker is playing Josh, and Elizabeth Moss, I don't have her character's name up, but they do a great job of playing that asshole family. Like, Elizabeth Moss is fantastic.
That's right.
When what was it? He said something about, like, I can't remember, when she was pouring the wine, he's like, go die or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I thought about, I think about killing him at least a few times a day.
She asks for another drink.
Yeah.
He pours it out. And he's like, what do you say? She's like, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
That's what she says. I'm like, damn. That's pretty brutal. I haven't gotten there yet. But I'm sure I will. But yeah, so like they're pretty good. You don't really get to see a whole lot of them, but you get them a little bit more later in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But, so the kid runs off. Adelaide freaks out that her youngest son. She also has a daughter who's like a daughter older. Sorry, the brother has an older sister.
Zora.
So yeah, Zora. Zora is her name. All right,
like Zora.
Zora. Got it. Like
I meant to say like Zorro, but I fucked it up, so I just went with it.
And the younger son disappears, sees this scarecrow man, and she freaks out. And she finds him. She says, never run off again.
Yeah. And
they promptly leave the beach and go back to the cottage where they discuss her past.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is where you start to see like the really good emotional scenes, because you believe everything that's going on in her head. She seems legitimately terrified about this.
Absolutely.
And she's freaking out. And they don't give you a minute to absorb any of it, because all of a sudden, hey, we've got people on our driveway.
That's right.
And then you've got such a good shot. The way that they lit the scene, the way that it's framed, genuinely creeped the shit out of me. I knew it was coming. You'd seen that shot in the trailers. You'd seen it in production stills. And even still, seeing it in the film gave me chills. Yeah,
I agree with you. That shot of them on the driveway, Winston Duke's character, the father, Gabe. Played really well by Winston Duke, but I think he's just like, it's so funny. He's dumb as bricks in this movie.
Yeah,
he's just a big old dummy. And again, as much as the cliche, like we're trying to break out of the cliches, he just does some says some monumentally stupid things. But there's this very tense moment where he goes outside to ask them to leave, and they don't move. He goes and he gets the baseball bat. They call the police immediately, which is another trope that people don't do that in horror films. Like, they don't call the police right away, right? But they called the police right away. They said they'd be here in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, how are they going to handle that? And then put that one away while things sort of played out in the movie. And they have this great scene where, he comes out with the bat, and one of the family gives the signal, and they all break off.
Yeah.
Like, the two smaller ones go off into the bushes, and the big guy comes towards him. So really, really well done. And they have this break-in scene, and now these guys essentially they break into the house, and they force the family to sit on the couch, and that's when they realize these 4 other people in these red jumpsuits with these gold scissors are them.
Yeah.
They are basically their doppelgangers.
Right.
And we get a really tense moment with the family, but then you also get some exposition.
Yes.
In the form of what is like, I literally, my throat was hurting.
Yes.
Like when I heard what I think her name is Red, who is
Yes.
Adelaide's or Lupita Nyong'o's doppelganger, who is obviously sort of leading this charge, starts speaking, and the rasp in her voice, it's just like I was like like my throat started drying up when I heard that.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting choice, but an effective one.
Very effective
Yeah.
one. It ramped up the creep factor even more, because
Yeah.
when you're looking at them, you're wondering what their potential motivations are to doing what they're doing. And all of a sudden, like, her exposition is one thing and definitely sets the tone of why they're, a little PO'd.
Yeah.
But it just dials up the creep factor with that voice,
For
the way
sure.
that she's doing it. And yes, it had a lasting impact on me after that scene.
Yeah, I agree. And I think she speaks at least one more time at length later in the movie.
Yes.
But both times it's extremely well delivered. So essentially what happens is this really weird pairing off. Each, she ends up giving them a name. She gives them a name. She calls them the Tethered.
Yes.
Right, in that scene. And it's sort of like she tells this very dramatic story about how people living in the light have a good life and people living in the dark have the same life, but everything is horrific, basically. And that's essentially what her family is.
Right.
And so they all pair off. So the father doppelganger pairs off with Gabe, and the younger brother and the older sister pair off with their own. And they go and they essentially, I'm not sure exactly what the motivation on this scene was. Again, this movie is way smarter than I am. I felt dumb after leaving this movie because I was like, what the fuck did I just see?
Yeah.
But the only one I really understood was the younger kid, the younger brother, wearing the Wolfman mask all the time. His doppelganger is almost like a dog.
Yeah.
It's almost like a wolf. Like, basically, it's very, that was done on purpose. It's like a dog. And his name is Pluto.
Yes.
And he's like, go and play.
Yeah. So
they go and they play. That's literally what they're doing, right? They go to this closet and play. Whereas Gabe gets dragged off into his boat, and Gabe's doppelganger is driving out the boat. And then he has this moment where he's like, none of them can speak. You realize they can't speak. She's the only one that speaks. And that was another clue as to like what was going on here. And so Gabe's doppelganger, and sorry, just to complete the trio, the older sister runs off with her doppelganger, and she's running down the street, playing tag or something like that, probably a deadly version of tag. So they go off and they do these things. Like, I think it's stuff that they love to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So, like, the younger brother likes to play in that dark closet. She loved to run. So that's why she's running down the street. And he loves his boat that he just bought, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah. And then Adelaide's doppelganger and her stay in the living room.
Right.
So what did you think of, like, what happens to these guys? Let's talk about Gabe first, because I think Gabe's is the most interesting and kind of the funniest.
Gabe's is the funniest, but at the same time, he was also the one that was my biggest problem in this scene, because he kept on cracking jokes. It a scene like
in the couch scene when he talks about like the boat, take the boat. Yeah,
it's the same problem I had with the comedic relief in Get Out, where sometimes it was being overused.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was like a club to the head, because it's during a really tense scene.
Yeah.
That keeps on happening.
It does diffuse it a little bit.
It diffuses it too much.
Yeah.
Too much, because I didn't need it. It didn't need the diffusion at that point.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate. It drove me nuts.
I mostly agree with that.
However, his doppelganger was terrifying.
Yeah, he played. So the same actors play both roles, and he is absolutely. He's got the big beard, and he seems almost bigger, but like you know, and he takes him out on the boat, and Gabe is able to get the better of him and actually kill him. And what I think is like one of the best kills in the movie.
He headbutted an engine.
Yeah, his
to get
engine,
it to go. It was the best.
Yeah, his engine turns on and off, and you got to hit the engine on the boat to get it to turn back on. So when he's like, they've been knocked out of the boat and they get into this scuffle, so he's climbing back on the boat, and his doppelganger's trying to drag him back into the water, but he's right by the engine.
Yeah.
And Gabe can't use his arms, so he uses his head, and he headbutts the engine, and the engine turns on, a spurt of blood comes up. I'm like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was super inventive, and I actually really enjoyed that. That was really well done.
Zora's chase with her Ombre, I think is the name of her doppelganger.
Yeah.
It was kind of tense, but
it was okay. I thought it was
horror stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was the least interesting one.
Yeah.
And she basically runs down the street and then runs back to the house.
That's
so
basically
it was kind of like, and the kid, the youngest brother, actually I thought had the most interesting one, which is the one in the closet with this Pluto who's wearing a full-on sack on his face, and what
it's like a gimp mask.
Yeah. What he discovers is that Pluto, his doppelganger, will copy everything he does. Yeah. Almost like action for action, or maybe it's only when the mask is on. That's what I thought. I thought it's only when the mask is on will he copy him. The younger brother's wearing that Wolfman mask. He takes the Wolfman mask off, and then the doppelganger does the same thing. You see that he's completely burned on his face. He gets out of the room and is able to reconnect with his mother, and they escape the cottage as a family together on the boat.
Right.
Is there anything else there that you wanted to talk about?
The copying stuff comes in later, but the thing I didn't understand is why do all of the other ones have their own distinct personalities and this kid doesn't? It just feel like he's just strange to me.
Yeah, so I thought maybe it was because he was really young.
Maybe really young, or maybe because he's very damaged with the fire.
With the fire,
maybe something along those lines.
That's right. Yeah, there's something about him obviously that's different than everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's not all the time. He's not copying them all the time because he chases them too, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, when does it end and where does it begin?
Yeah. I think it only ends and begins when he wants it to, and that actually comes into play later too. I think it's a distraction. He uses it as a distraction. I think. It's just like conjecture. But,
yeah.
And this is the part of the movie that sagged a little bit because the home invasion lasts a long time, and I think there was a moment where it just, I'm like, I get it. It's gone on a little too long. I thought it was too long, and I was a little bored.
The boat scene took way long. They could have skipped the whole him going off the boat, floating around for a little while, finding the boat, getting back on. He could have just tossed him over the side
and had that,
and then had that happen right away. That would have shaved off 5 minutes of the, well, maybe not, I don't know, however many minutes of the movie, and it would have been a lot tighter.
Yeah, I just feel like this moment, because the mystery is deflated in this scene, where it's sort of similar shtick happening, and it was stunning at the beginning, and I was on board, and then slowly the tension started leaking out of the side of the scene. It picks up again.
Yes.
But it just, I think, I don't know what it was. There was some tension leaking out of the scene. So this was the part where I was like, okay, I'm ready to move on to something new.
Right.
Like, what have you got coming up next?
Yeah. So what they had coming up next was everybody gets away from their doppelganger. They all get to the boat, and then they cruise off to Josh's place, but Josh and his family have been done in very quickly by their own doppelgangers.
That's correct, and that was a pretty terrifying scene. I didn't expect that, like the way they shot that, where the doppelganger just comes out of the room and the bag stands right next to his daughters, and they all, in a wide angle, they all just get off at the same time.
It scared the shit out of me. There's nothing worse than just like a gradual scare. What was the film that we watched a long time? The Descent.
Oh,
when they're panning around in the cave.
That was scary.
That scared the piss out of me. It wasn't a jump scare. It was just like, oh, there's something weird. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that oh my God moment is exactly what this film did.
It's not a jump scare. She literally just walks out of the
she's like,
girl's
hey,
room.
I'm going to scare you in 3, 2, 1, stabby stab.
Yeah, and it got pretty stabby in there.
Oh, very stabby.
And Elizabeth Moss's death by the hands of her own doppelganger it's almost funny scene where she's trying to like walk away, and they have a Siri, Amazon Alexa type device, And there's a song that's playing, Good Vibrations.
Good Vibrations, yeah.
I can't figure out for the life of me why that song is playing. I know it's playing for a reason. Again, this is another example of this movie being smarter than I am, and a lot of other people doing analysis that are smarter than I am. But I certainly can appreciate what happens next when she says, I can't remember what they call it. They call it like Veronica or something like that.
Yeah,
Veronica called police, but she had been stabbed in the throat, so like it came out something police. It's like, okay, playing Fuck the Police by NWA, and Fuck the Police comes on, and I was like, that's perfect. I'm like, I never would, when she said call the police, I knew that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that was going to happen, but it was so good. I'm like, and I feel like only someone like Jordan Peele would think of something like that.
Right.
That fine line between like satire, comedy, and horror. He like rides that line very, very well.
Yeah.
And this was it made me laugh. It was like really, really fun. It was funny and like grotesque and horrifying all at the same time.
I think my favorite part about this scene, not only just the good scares that came from it and the comedy relief, which that was done well. That wasn't something that I felt like was taking away from the tension. It cut the tension right when it needed to be cut, because now we're jumping to something else.
Yeah, that's
totally
right.
fine.
Yeah, scene was over.
But the thing that I found interesting was this took me by surprise, because I'm like, holy shit, they have got doppelgangers too?
Yeah.
And then that's when you find out that this isn't an isolated incident.
Yes.
Something big is happening across, well, it seemed like the beaches and maybe the world.
So this is interesting, because you said you started thinking that Adelaide's character might have done a switcheroo at the beginning. I had no idea about that. But when Gabe's doppelganger has him out on the water and he's doing these like calls and someone's responding,
that's when
and the police hadn't shown up yet. I'm like, oh, it's happening everywhere. And I knew that. I put that together right away, because it reminded me of another great thriller / horror movie that I was recently talking to a friend about, so it was fresh in my mind, called The Invitation. If you haven't,
I still haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that?
No.
Anyway, so we'll leave it at that. But yeah, so it was like I had known that. So when the other doppelganger showed up, I wasn't super surprised. So then the family shows up at their cottage because they have nowhere else to go, and the cops haven't shown up. So they go to the house and they try to go in, and obviously they get attacked by the new set of doppelgangers.
Right. Kill some more doppelgangers.
Yeah,
in like great fashion.
In great fashion. When they get there, Fuck the Police is still blaring out of the speaker when they're in there. It's interesting they didn't, keep a playlist going instead of looping the same song over. Well, I think it's actually naturally only taking place over the course of 4 minutes or so. I thought it was very recent, like they just killed them and then they come up the patio. Here's the thing that confused me. The door opens and she doesn't recognize that this guy is a doppelganger because he's wearing this robe over this red jumpsuit.
Yeah.
When she does realize it, I think she has, what does she have? Like a wrench or a pickaxe or something?
The poker from
the fire poker.
Yeah.
She fucking drops this fire poker in his head.
Yeah.
Right? Takes it out and he's still functioning.
Yeah.
Everything before this and the rest of the movie leads you to believe that these doppelgangers are actually human.
Yeah.
They're not, there's nothing, they hadn't hinted at anything supernatural about them. And other ones go down, they get stabbed in the chest, they die. They get shot in the face, they die. They get chewed up by a turbine, they die.
Yeah. I think that what this
But this guy took a poker to the head.
Right, but his daughter also took the poker to the head, or
took she got whacked with a
golf club
point
point blank in the head, and then fell down and went through a table, and then she got up and she was okay.
That's true.
And then Red, later on in the film, she takes a few pretty well, and it takes a lot to kill her.
That's what I mean.
These things are stronger.
But it's all sort of all over the place. Like
not really. Who wasn't really?
Well, So the one girl that she kills in the bathroom. Like she keeps like smacking her in the head.
Yeah.
So
she gave her the double tap.
Yeah, that was more.
You can't
like a
single
7
click
tap.
on this. You got to give him a double.
That was
click.
like a 7 tap. She like beat her. I got reminded of that scene from Sin City where Bruce Willis punches Yellow Bastard's face until it's like
punching ground.
It's just like a pile of mustard. But yeah, so she falls down. But how does Elizabeth Moss's doppelganger die.
The big rock. Gets the big rock from
She
the
gets
kid.
knocked over the head with the rock.
Yeah.
But she never comes back. Right? So that's what I mean. Like, it's a little inconsistent. Like, and they also...
It depends, though. That rock was really big, and the sound it made was way more imposing than any of the other implements they'd used at that point. I'm just saying. But in terms of consistency, that's the only one I will say maybe wasn't as consistent. But the rotor blades on Abraham, he's gone. The car wreck, when the girl came off, Umbre or whatever her name was, when she comes off, she was still maniacal and crazy, but she was also broken in half, basically. That's right.
Her legs
in a tree.
are like,
So you could see that she's more than human. She's stronger than a typical human.
Sure.
She's not unkillable, obviously, but that's why I was okay with it. That being said, the Tim Heidecker, the Josh thing, I thought the same thing too at first, and then things continued to be pretty consistent with that. So I was like, okay.
Fair enough.
I made I made peace with it.
Okay, so they go in, and the Heidecker, what do we call him? Doppelganger. Yeah. Chases Gabe. Gabe offs him on the boat, and the two kids kill the twins, and they
do away with the family.
Yeah, and they save Lupita Nyong'o's their mom, basically.
Yeah. They enjoyed what they were doing so much in the first house that they thought, let's do it in the second.
Yeah, so they off this entire doppelganger family. Yeah. The interesting thing here is they spend a ton of time in this one really weird another shot where, again, I think that Jordan Peele is being a little self-indulgent, is this scene with Elizabeth Moss's character putting on makeup. Yeah. And again, I'm not smart enough to understand whether this really had a ton of importance, but that was one of those scenes where I'm like, I was on board for a lot of the other artistic things that he was doing. This one, I was just kind of bored. Like watching this scene. Yeah.
I thought that this scene is what you were talking about when you were saying you were bored. The definitely some of the stuff, the boat stuff in particular in the last house was a little boring. This one also dragged on too. Even the family sitting around at the dinner table and talking. And I guess that's when they had more of the exposition about them all holding hands.
Yeah,
and all
so
that
now
jazz.
all these, so they find out that the doppelgangers are not an isolated incident. Right. The cops aren't showing up because they're busy or dead, and the doppelgangers have been coming out of the woodwork, and they're all forming these lines, a lot like this TV broadcast program that was shown at the beginning of the movie. The Hands,
Clue number 2.
Yeah, Hands
Across America.
Hands Across America, and they're all basically just making this huge line, holding these hands.
Right.
So this is another time where Winston Duke's character, Gabe, says a really dumb thing where he's like, well, we should just stay here. We've got food and water and protection. I'm like... And the one character says it to him. It's like, look around.
Yeah.
Like,
fuck are you talking
what
about,
the hell
Dad?
happened to these? I'm like, what?
I know.
What are you thinking? You're in a house made of glass.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a really dumb thing to say.
Not well thought out.
And he was really on it until, like, his wife is just like, shut the fuck up, Gabe. Yeah. Like, seriously. That's like the whole audience is like, shut the fuck up, Gabe. I know. Wow. And then they proceed to drive off. Exactly. They take the car, and there's a couple of moments of comedy when they're like, who's driving? It's like, how many people have you killed? They do like a kill count. I thought that was a really funny and really dark and gruesome joke, but it worked. I thought it worked. I think it was funny.
So with the car, they kill Umbre.
Yep.
And then they try to get away, but then Red and Pluto catch up with them. And Pluto sabotages their car, tries to light them on fire and explode the car, but then Jason kills him because of the mimicking thing.
Yes.
Which this was something, it took me, like, I had to flash back to the fact that Jason was able to control him.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like, I didn't like that ending because it was just too easy.
So this is the moment where I'm thinking that when Jason has the werewolf, like the Wolfman mask on, is when he has control over him. Because he has to. That's why I was thinking that when he's got it off, he doesn't really have control.
Perhaps.
But that's why he puts it on first and then walks backwards. And the doppelganger does exactly what he does. And he basically is immolated. He catches fire.
Right.
But Adelaide's doppelganger Red is right there in frame and snatches Jason up and runs off into the original, because they're back at the beach, and he runs off into the original maze of mirrors, basically,
right,
the Hall of Mirrors. So So that basically takes us to the climax of the movie,
Right.
And this scene.
the
Was there
full
anything else? Was there anything else here?
No, at this point, then Zora and Gabe just try not to get killed and hide away in the ambulance.
Yeah.
But the thing that's interesting is this is where you get the full exposition about the tethered.
Yeah. So actually, before we even get there, there's
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to mention.
Sure.
She grabs the poker and she's going. Oh, so there's one thing I wanted to mention before. When they kill her daughter, or daughter's doppelganger, run her over, and sorry, not run over, launch her into the trees. And you said like she's all distorted and like crumpled in the trees. There's this moment where she tries to like reach out to her, saying it's okay, it's okay. I now look back at that, being like that's the connection she has with her because that could have been actually her family. Mm-hmm. But I think what it's played to in that scene is the fact that she looks like her daughter.
I think so too. I wouldn't
same
have made
thing
that
with the son,
right?
When he's when the Jason's doppelgangers, Pluto's trying to trick them into staying still so he can light the car on fire. Right. She reaches out to him and says like it's okay, but then Jason takes over, puts the mask on, and makes him walk into the fire. I thought, now I'm looking back, I'm like questioning everything essentially, but maybe I'm reaching a little too far. That might not be
the clues for me at that point was my realization as to kind of how that was going to play out at the end happened after she started talking while during the first home invasion. That I'm like, what happened? Maybe they switched.
Yes.
Maybe that's why she can talk. Maybe that's why she's so pissed off.
Yeah.
And then there was the clues of the hands across America. I'm like, motherfucker, they're probably the same.
Yeah.
And then there was, it was when she goes back in. Oh no, it was when she goes back. Yeah, sorry. When she goes back into the house, sees that the girl that fell down is no longer there, and then they have the fight.
When she's whacking
whacking him, but she does this weird clicking with her jaw, which like something like that, and I was like, that's weird. Yeah. I think my theory kept on getting stronger as things progress.
She does do that, and Jason sees her, and that's when even Jason gets suspicious of like, my mom's gone crazy.
Mom's gone postal.
Like postal. So this all leads up to Mom essentially going back into this place where she first saw her doppelganger at the beginning of the movie, and see how that line works. Like, anyway, we'll get to that. So she goes down, she finds this secret escalator and goes down. And this is a beautiful scene. I think it's shot so brilliantly, but the score in this scene is so good. It's like super pumping, like orchestral score, and it's her going in with the poker, and it is the best imitation of James Cameron's Aliens. It's exactly, almost like frame for frame, replace the escalator with the elevator. Yeah. In Aliens, when Sigourney Weaver goes back for Newt. Yeah. Because the music's pumping, she's getting ready, she's going down the escalator, she's psyching herself out. And as soon as the elevator doors open in Aliens, the music cuts out. Yeah. And then, like, the suspenseful stuff starts. Exact same thing happens in this movie. She gets to the bottom of the stairs, rounds the corner, the music stops, and then it goes into, like, this suspense mode. So I'm like, that was, like, frame for frame Aliens. Like, that's interesting. Almost. Which, when I say frame for frame, obviously, like, I'm doing the movie a disservice by saying that. Like, I think it's a great interpretation of that scene, but I think it's definitely an homage. Whether it was intended or not is sort of up for debate. Right. But I thought it was super cool, and I really did like it. Yeah.
It was a great. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely that you could feel the suspense and the tension building the whole time. Yeah. And I guess really that's why it connected with me so much. Yeah. Yeah. I never actually made that connection. Good call.
So then there are a bunch of white rabbits everywhere. So I think that's like the Alice in Wonderland, the White Rabbit. You're literally following the rabbits down the rabbit hole. Yeah. That's the only thing I could think of. And
I think they had that opening scene with the rabbits, and they're like, well, we have them for another 8 hours, and we have to shoot all this other stuff. Let them out.
Let them out.
PETA will have our ass if we don't let them walk around for a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Rabbits on set get a 5-minute walking break. Sorry. So at this point she ends up finding Red in a classroom, and
cutting something,
cutting hands across, and then she cuts out two, and it's just whatever. But that's when she starts talking about what the tethered truly are, that they were essentially a failed government experiment spanning across these pipelines that are across the world.
Yes.
And that they got organized, and that they decided to uprise, and they had this master plan of hands across America.
To make a statement. Yeah.
So at this point is when I kind of started abandoning my theory, because to me I was like, okay, maybe... Oh, no, it was, I guess, after the fight was when I truly abandoned it. But this is where I started thinking, like, okay, well, maybe she has, because they have these emotional connections or these connections to their, top floor people, is why she knows and is associated. She's got this really weird connection to the Hands Across America. Because they essentially they do have that connection. Yes.
And if you noticed at the beginning when the home invasion started and Gabe's doppelganger is trying to break through the front door, he goes over to a rock and the porch and lifts the rock, and the key is under the rock.
Right.
How does he know that? He knew that. Yeah. Like, he walked over to that rock and lifted it. So it's like they do have a connection.
Yeah.
So, and count them. There are literally 2 lines in this movie, and they're almost throwaway lines because she doesn't elaborate. Government experiment, 1 line. Connection to try to control the populace, another line. That's it.
Yeah.
And we're done. We're not talking about that again.
Yeah.
And so much of that mythology, it's interesting, but for whatever reason, they do show some flashbacks of the carnival scene that you saw at the beginning of the movie, and then down in these tunnels, the exact same carnival scene playing out, but played out in a very... like zombies.
Yes.
So as if zombies were trying to act like human beings.
Right.
So that's what they're doing. They're acting out these scenes and they're copying.
Jerky and absolutely.
They're copying them. And I wasn't even sure if I heard that line, government experiment, cloning experiment. I wasn't even sure if I heard it. Mm-hmm. That's how quick it goes.
Yeah.
So fast. And the whole control them up top, control the populace. I can't even remember if I heard that. And you saying that now, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what she said, but I thought it was so fast that I thought I didn't hear it.
It was fast, and it was just a weird direction to go. Like, I kind of put it up there with, like, the aliens from the 4th Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of a weird choice, you know? But like the Indiana Jones film, I came to accept it. I mean, I'm like, all right, well, if this is the direction they want to go, it's kind of an odd choice. It kind of comes out of nowhere. But at the same time, where else are you going to go? If this is your choice, this is your choice.
I think my only problem with that, and that this is the scene where that Brian De Palma shot is used, where her face is taking up half the frame and it's in focus, and the other
I thought Citizen Kane made that famous. But...
Oh, really? I don't know. Every Brian De Palma movie I've ever seen
he does it a lot.
Has that shot in it.
Anyway,
but there's a name for it, and someone
Deep
smart.
focus.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
Really? Yeah. All right. Well. So this shot is in the movie, and again, it's like it's Jordan Peele sort of flexing that, like, I'm not the average horror director. I'm an artist, and I'm making a movie that's distinctly mine. Like I'm sure that the other movies he makes, when you see a Jordan Peele movie, it's like, oh, I just saw a Ridley Scott movie, or I saw a Tony Scott, or I saw a Tim Burton movie. Like this isn't or I saw a Scorsese movie. Like, this is the kind of visual style he's going for. And he really ratchets that up in this movie.
Yep.
So there's that shot. And it's a long exposition scene.
Yes.
Really long. It's this exposition dump. It's like the thing that you try to avoid in a lot of movies. So and I was kind of like, when that happened, I was like, it deflated things a little bit.
Yeah.
For me.
And I don't know, like, here's the thing is, I don't know that they needed to go that, like, they didn't need to give it a reason. They could have just been like, we've always existed. Something creepy and supernatural. Something scary, and there's something underneath us. Like, and then it starts begging the question of, well, how many layers are there, or something like this. With this, it kind of gives it a really finite, almost boring quality to it.
the whole government thing, I wasn't really into. Like, the word
Yeah.
government was thrown in there. I'm like,
Like I said,
wasn't really into it.
I'm okay with it in the grand scheme of things, but it didn't seem like the best decision.
I feel like there's so much you can do with that because they call them tethered. We're tethered to you like shadows. And that's why this whole werewolf thing came back. Michael Jackson's Thriller, The Wolfman, that's what they talk about. Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, there's a good and bad part of everyone. And leaving the explanation at that would have been totally fine with me, actually. But yeah, I thought it was demystifying things a little too much. And there's an earlier line in the movie. It's like, "Who are you guys? What do you want?" And she says, this is when they're sitting on the couch at the beginning of the home invasion movie. She says, like, "We are shadows. Like, we are Americans."
Yeah.
She says. And again, I'm not one to really, like, I don't know. I'm not super into politics. So when they have political themes in movies and satire, I don't immediately get them. Didn't understand why she said that. Like, I still don't really understand that. Do they represent the disenfranchised? I think there are probably other sort of like thematic interpretations of that, but that kind of flew over my head.
Yeah.
I preferred the angle of like the Wolfman and the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and the dark and bright side to everyone, but they kind of went in a different direction with that. And that was a creative choice that they made. It didn't quite connect with me, but I did like some of the visuals that came with it, because they show the fact that she explains that when I met you, it changed my life. She says, Red says that, and she says that when I went back down there, I wasn't like everyone else. Right, I started to learn. You started dancing, so I started learning how to dance, and then I wanted to organize something. We needed a better life, so she brings everyone together and basically constructs this coup, basically for them to have a coordinated strike.
Let's talk about her better life.
Sure. Yeah.
What's joining Hands Across America?
Yeah. I don't see. That's another part that I don't really understand. It's like we need to make a statement, right?
Yeah.
But I think this goes in like one of the things that really resonated with her on that television was this hands. It's like one of the last things she saw.
Right?
So I think that kind of makes sense. But she needs to make a statement. Hands across America. It's like I don't know. I can't even like conjecture. Like there's conjecture. It's like does it mean that we want to make a statement? You know, I don't fucking know. We are united. We are like this. I don't know what it is.
Inherently, my biggest problems with the movie, and this is what I was talking about at the very beginning, is the third act, in that it goes in so many weird directions and takes so many weird twists and turns that you're left confused.
Yeah.
This Hands Across America thing, I'm like, I don't like what. What's the end game here? What is to be gained? Yeah. And what, like, if you want to do this unity across America and show that you're united and you guys are strong, what's the motivation of killing everybody in such a weird way? And then at the same time, is this only happening in California?
Yeah.
Why is the East Coast not like sending over, like they got helicopter? They show helicopters.
Is it just California though? Right? Like
I think
maybe
so.
It's across the United States or across the world.
They didn't really establish that.
So,
but they get pretty far. So.
Yeah, they do. They do with the Hands Across America thing. So one of the things I didn't mention at the beginning was I actually, when I was letting this movie sit and unpacking, I was trying to do that myself. I didn't look at any reviews or any like explanations and like all of these forums and YouTube videos that are up there. We'll explain this to you. I'll probably do that later. Maybe. I wanted this to be a more closer to my opinion of what it is, and then later I'll be like, oh yeah, that's why, or oh yeah, like this is this, theme that I completely missed of like, of something that I just didn't get. Right. So that's why I'm coming at it like I am. I'm kind of like the Hands Across America thing. I don't really know thematically how that really plays in, but it's a hell of a statement. Let's put it that way, and that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to make a statement. So. So this big exposition dump happens. Was there anything else you wanted to say about that?
No, I just, to be honest, I want to just talk about the end of this film.
So this fight happens now. They fight each other. And now is this what you were referring to as the great fight scene? It was actually pretty good.
It was really well choreographed because you've got a sense of violence, but you've got also essentially Red dancing away from her. Yeah. She's super elegant, but she's still getting little cuts and stabs in as well.
That's right.
It's narrated to that awesome remix.
That was what I was going to say.
That's where you start. You literally did your fucking snap thing in the theater.
Because they use this cut of I Got Five on it that they used in the trailer that's on the original motion picture soundtrack, and they used it in this scene, and I was just in heaven. It was so good. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about using music. If it really does mean something, right? If it really does mean something, Jordan Peele's like, look, we're not just gonna use the song.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out of my way and make something and make it a part of the movie. And he went the whole 9 yards and make this new mix, and it's great. It's cinematic. It's exciting. It's atmospheric. It's perfect. It was absolutely perfect, and I loved that. And the fight scene was very good.
Yeah. And then,
although at the end, I'm just like, she's offed pretty. For a person who is like, Red is dancing away from her and slicing her.
Yeah.
And then she goes to attack her from behind and gets stabbed in the chest. And I was kind of like, that was weird. I almost thought she did it on purpose.
Yes.
I thought that she let herself die to make some kind of a point that maybe will get revealed a little bit later. And I don't know, maybe she did considering what happens. But she dies and... Adelaide kills her doppelganger, and Adelaide goes and finds her son in a locker, like hiding in a locker, and comes out. And her son, because she's covered in blood now, and her son almost like recoils from her in that moment, and because he's like, oh, I saw her go crazy on that, in that one house, and I'm like, is this her?
Yeah.
Is it the doppelganger? Like, who is this? And she's like, no, it's me. She does something that they established earlier in the movie with their hands, like they do with their hands. And she's like, don't worry, you're going to be safe. But there's that moment where he's like recoiling. Yeah. And they go back up topside. Yeah. Get into the car. Ambulance, actually.
Yeah, ambulance.
And basically get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's when the whole switcheroo thing is actually revealed.
So why don't you tell us exactly what happens here?
Well, basically it shows that she was actually... she was actually choked out by the doppelganger
at the beginning of the movie when in the House of Mirrors.
In the House of Mirrors,
when she meets her doppelganger,
she was choked out, brought down into the depths, tunnels, I guess, the tunnels, and she ends up becoming now what's her name? Adelaide. I was gonna say Abigail. She's now Adelaide. Yeah. So, and that's it. That's basically it. She lives the whole life. Her parents know something's wrong. She finds dance, which apparently is her seeing God as well, because that's what happened with the tethered. Red. Yeah, she mentioned that.
Yeah, so she... That I always thought that was interesting. So it goes back to the first scenes where it's like, I want my daughter back. Right. And it shows Adelaide not speaking. She's not speaking. She doesn't know how to talk. Right. Right? Like, and she looks traumatized because she's never been up to the surface before. Right. So, and then they're like, you should, they push dance onto her. She starts dancing. But... the original Adelaide, the one that was originally born on the surface but now is shackled in the shadow realm or whatever, also starts dancing, but she is fundamentally different than everyone else because she wasn't born here. Right. She knows how to talk, which is why she's the only one who does any of the exposition and knows how to talk at the beginning of the movie. And it's not even like... it's not the best verbiage either. No. Right? So it's like she wasn't educated. She wasn't formally educated, So, and her voice is all fucked up. So it's like all of these little tells like that sort of come crashing down when, and that's why she could dance. Yeah. Right? And that's why she could organize everyone, because she was born topside, not in this like shadow world. Now,
this is another one of these things that really pissed me off about the ending, because you had a pretty tight package. And I like that you're kind of potentially misleading the audience into thinking that maybe they got switched, maybe they didn't, whatever. But you don't have to go all Clone Saga at the end unless there's really a point to it.
It was a very last-minute thing to do, and Jason, her son, is watching her drive the car as she is... because essentially she's repressed this memory. Yes. So now the memory comes back, and she realizes that she was born down there, and she basically forced her way up. Yes. Right? And she has this smirk on her face at the end and Jason's looking at her apprehensively. Yeah. And she has a smirk on her face, and essentially the movie ends with a shot of the all of the doppelgangers holding hands across the mountains and like helicopters flying around, and then the movie ends.
The thing is,
so I don't really. Yeah. So, sorry. Go ahead.
The thing is I didn't even really see a smirk, and if there was a smirk, it was more that she's with her family.
Yeah.
That
I don't
whole
think it was a
switcheroo thing.
it's not a villainous.
No,
smirk,
I don't think so
but
at
it's
all.
more of like it's a recognition that it's kind of like like,
yeah, maybe.
Maybe she's happy to be with her family, maybe, but it's such a last minute change that thematically I don't understand exactly what they were trying to say.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying my only guess is that it's thematic in that she achieved what Red couldn't. She took her life. She basically was like this disenfranchised, forgotten people, and she climbed out of that hole, and she's living this like perfect life. And she was able to do that even though she was born down in that sort of like shadow area, that doppelganger town.
Yeah, but to me, it's a distraction from this journey that this family and that character of Adelaide has gone on so far. You can say the exact same thing about her literally going down into the tunnels, rescuing Jason, and coming back out of the tunnels with her heart, with her child, and reuniting with her family. So this whole throwing that in there, to me, it didn't add anything. All it did was distract from, I guess, what the real climax of the film was for me, was going into the depths, learning about everything, and then that uphill battle of being able to beat your doppelganger who's so outclassed. It has you so outclassed that you got lucky, basically, but you're out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know. To me, it was just I like that. I actually liked the fact that I had that predicted that they did the switcheroo, and then all of a sudden it was kind of revealed maybe not, and then she kills Red, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
And then, because I figured if they were going to do that twist, it was going to mean something. Yeah. But then to stick in it at the end, I was like, God damn it. Like, I thought you guys had me fooled, and I felt pretty happy about that. Because I like being wrong when I predict something early on. I like being fooled. And in this case, I was just like, God damn it. Like, I thought you guys were better than this.
Yeah.
So it just, to me, it did not add a goddamn thing to the film. All it did was just add more confusion for no reason. Like, I don't mind a Shyamalan twist on things.
Yeah.
I say Shyamalan because I know it'll piss you off. But I don't mind a twist at the end of the film if it's going to leave a lasting impact that furthers the film in some way. This one didn't. It just adds confusion.
I think it basically confused me. Yeah. And again, I'll probably do a bunch of research, see what other people think, and like interpretations that are not my own that will become like something I learn from. But initially walking out of the movie, again, it's probably smarter than I am. So when I walked out of the movie, I was actually kind of confused. Not about what had happened. The movie's clear. The movie's clear. It tells you exactly what's happened. But I'm just like thematically, like what are we trying to say here? Like what did that add to the character arc for Lupita Nyong'o's character? What did that add? Because I wasn't sure, because they don't explore it at all. It's almost like a stinger at the end of the movie, the equivalent of like Jason climbing out of on the canoe and grabbing the girl at the end, or Freddy coming out of the mirror at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street, like that kind of stinger. And it almost felt cheap.
It did feel cheap. It felt tacked on. But the thing is those stingers, like Jason coming up or Freddy coming back, you know what that means. They're back, and they're still around, and they're gonna fuck some shit up. This one told us that she's the doppelganger, but I wasn't convinced that she was bad.
She wasn't. Yeah, no, and I don't think the movie is really trying to convince you of that either. Yeah, and if they are, they didn't do a very good job of it. But there was an edge at the end, like because even her son notices.
Oh yeah, she had the same violent look in her eyes that she had when she was killing the daughter in the Tim Heidecker's place.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a bit of trepidation there. So maybe the movie is trying to say that, okay, now that she knows, like maybe something's changed. But they don't really explore it. So what I do like is that all of the language that's used in the movie, like when Red is doing that information dump, when she's telling the story about, there was once upon a time, there was a shadow, like, there was a group of people living on the surface and a group of people living in the depths. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff, saying things like, when I met you, my life changed, it all works.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's really clever. I think that there's something technically speaking, there's something really clever about that. When you go back and watch, it's like none of the dialogue has to change.
No.
Because it's like when I saw you, yeah, your life did change. You fucked me up and dragged me into the thing, and you took over my life.
Yeah.
My life changed,
Yes.
right? So it's I think that's really clever. But technically I think it's clever. I haven't really figured out what the impact to that character's arc is, if any.
That's the problem. That's the reason why I have a problem with it, is that it's a big thing that you throw in at the end of the movie to no avail.
Yeah.
There's no purpose for it. It didn't need to happen. And all it did was cause, confusion. So
Right. Agreed.
that's my problem with it. But overall, man, I would certainly recommend the film.
Oh yeah, no, I think that people should see this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that they should come to their own conclusions about
Yes.
it. I think it's a technically extremely well-made movie. I think that there's a lot of unique ideas and a unique mythology here. I think that the acting is really strong. The score is fantastic, and there's more to it. I just haven't figured it out. I think there's more to it. And I just, it's something that I'm going to have to watch again.
Exactly.
It's definitely a movie that I think will benefit from a second go around.
Amen.
I think I like Get Out better as a complete package of a movie that's like thematically all sort of like put together and with closure. And I think Get Out is a more accessible movie, I think. And I think I like it better, but this one might grow on me as I sort of unravel its mysteries, basically, as time goes on. But
That's fair. Yeah, makes sense. All right, well.
Yeah, I think that's it, man.
Yeah, that's enough of this movie. It's an exhausting one, but a good one. So I'm assuming you've probably seen it if you've gotten this far. So hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening.
All right, take care, guys.
See you later.
Drunks.